Hi, this is Michael P. Coleman, Content Director for Brother Be Well. Thanking you for checking out this series, this trauma and healing series brought to you by Blue Shield of California's Blue Sky Initiative.
Let's talk about these phrases. When communities come together, I thought that was really powerful. We're a community right now coming together to address this issue. So I want to ask, how powerful and vital do you think that is? So take any one of these. When I call on a few people, taking action kept coming up. So it's not about knowing about ACEs exposure. You can be aware of it, but we got to take action. Our Hawk Institute mentors are taking action every day in those schools. But I think it's very important that knowing and doing are two different things sometimes. And then also for our Hawk folks, schools should take responsibility. That one came up too. So especially as we were talking about the work being done in schools, I had forgotten about that part of that video. I want to talk about that a little bit as a group. And we're already, as we got 15 minutes left of this. So let's talk about that first one. When communities come together, how important is it for communities to come together? And would you agree that even someone with I don't think I have a very high ACEs score. I think 7 is, moderate, probably. It's in the middle of that. Some people are walking around with 10 of those, and that was before, according to Dr. G, discrimination and that lens got added to this. But even with that extreme ACEs exposure, with all of us coming together, I think we can make a change. Maybe I'm being like Isaiah and being hopelessly optimistic in there. Let's open it up to the panel. Start with you, Andre. You're with your COO of the Hawk Institute. What do you think about the power of communities coming together to address something like ACEs?
I think that is a strong statement, and I believe it 100%. Not now as much as I did when I was growing up, because when I was growing up, my whole community, we all knew each other. I mean, I want to say 20 blocks in one direction, 20 blocks in the other direction. We all knew each other. We all support each other. If you got in trouble down the street, your mom would know about it before you got home. We didn't have any cell phones, anything like that. We had a strong community presence. If there was any type of trouble, there wasn't too many people on my block and the many blocks over that I couldn't go to and say, hey, something's going on. Today, I think the word community and neighborhood, I think our neighborhoods became hoods, because I noticed when I walk out of my door in the same neighborhood I've been in for the last 53 years, it's not as a friendly community as it was when I was growing up. So that might have been, and the word pampered I shouldn't have used, I might say sheltered, because a lot of things I just wasn't exposed to. And that might be the reason, because, just such a strong community presence.
I appreciate you making that change, my friend, but I'm gonna hang on to pampered. I like pampered. I like it as
I got in trouble, Mike. So I wasn't pampered.
No, I didn't hear that, but you were in a nurturing environment. That was your first choice of words. I think often I'm a writer at heart, so I think sometimes our first choice of words is close to the money. So I appreciated hearing that.
I would like to add one more thing.
Yeah.
2 more things, Mike, before we change on to the next thing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things in my childhood I don't remember. So I'm thinking also too, a lot of things in my childhood, that could be a reason why I don't remember some of the things. And I say I don't remember a lot of it. I remember a lot of it. But as I was listening to some of the conversations and watching the gentleman speak in the first video, I had at least 3 to 4 of the outcomes.
So yeah, that could be a whole different session, repressed memories. And I only know that term because I've been hanging out with Brother Be Well clinical advisors like Malik Sampson for the last year and a half, but that you could have been exposed to some things that you just really blocked out. I know for me, that ACEs screener did bring up one particular set of instances that I hadn't really blocked out, but I could tell I had buried it so far back there. I didn't really want to revisit that. But let's get to this community question, because we got just a few minutes left, and I'm curious from our youth participants. Maybe Ted, we could start out with you. What are your thoughts about community coming together to address this thing? Communities really working to support those kids. I love the vibe, that particular vibe of that video. So I want to hear what our youth have to say about it. Let's start with you.
I think it is important, especially considering that at such a young age, most kids it may not be easy for them to, obviously come out and say, I'm going through this, or whatever the case may be. I know even for me, it wasn't even in high school alone. So if I was, younger, it would be even harder, almost impossible for me to know how to seek out help. So I think it's better if other people know how to, look for those signs and reach out to those young people and know how to kind of recognize a few things, and then kind of go from there.
Richard, what about you? What are your thoughts about communities coming together? Andre, some of your comments resonated with me, man. We've lost a sense of community. Just earlier today, this older woman was walking past my garage as I happened to be backing out, and I had backed the car part out, and I was taking care of something. And I threw up my hand, and I didn't know her. I just threw up my hand and said, "Hi, how are you doing?" And I could tell she was surprised, like, "Whoa, did he just speak to me?" And we had a very nice 5-minute conversation. I think some of that, Dr. G, you alluded to it with the COVID pandemic. We're not used to that anymore. And I don't even know her name. She got away from me. We didn't even exchange names, but we had this great moment. She talked about a fruit tree in my yard. I said, "You want some fruit? Because it's going crazy." I picked it and bagged it up, and we just had this great human moment. But that was the kind of little thing that when I was growing up, neighbors did stuff like that all the time, and people just don't do it anymore. It makes me a little sad. So when we address, something like ACEs exposure, and I hear how powerful communities can be, I just don't want to pivot off of that until we get to that. What are your thoughts about that, Richard, the power of community?
I think the power of community comes a very long way. And I think it actually takes a little bit to start talking to a person. I think that each individual thinks too much about starting a conversation with someone. Like, what are they going to think? How am I going to appear to them? And then they're thinking the same thing about themselves. So nobody ever starts a conversation. And that's why it's weird. Like you said, like, oh, he's talking to me. Cause it's like, it's shocking. Right. But, once you start a conversation with most people, it actually just rolls through. But I think the power of community is great because, sometimes you can't to kind of, express yourself to your parents or to your family members because you don't want them to think anything about the things you're already going through, especially if they're the ones that are causing the effects of like ACEs. Mm-hmm. But I know that there are like police academies for youth. There are like little firefighter academies for youth, and even after school programs from schools where kids are more than welcome to join those programs. And I feel like it helps a lot of those kids just be involved, getting out of their home and getting out of their whatever violence or just any issue that they're going through in their household. And so I think that being able to speak to different people from different careers and different lifestyles makes a huge impact into individuals. And as an individual, I mean, I haven't gone through any of the things in the ACEs quiz. I took it, and luckily, I scored 0. But I think that for a person who scores very high and goes through those situations, I think that having a different perspective from other adults, like I said, in different careers, different mindset, mm-hmm. I think it could help, people. I think it's very powerful.
I think that I have to say you're the first black or brown man who has said to me they scored 0. So that makes me feel good that we're getting better as a community and as a society.